A bitch made it. What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? How are y'all doing today? I had scheduled this for yesterday, but then, well, maybe was it yesterday or day before? I don't recall, but I had to push it out. So I've been on this whole kick, you guys, lately. The last couple of days. Somehow, and I don't know how I didn't know about this documentary before. What's up, Heaven Sent? Hey, Shadow the Dawn, how are you? I don't know how I didn't know about this documentary, but I want to talk about this woman that is the most wanted woman in the world. Samantha Lewthwaite, a British born British citizen, complete Caucasian lady who is probably one of the highest levels of terrorists in the world, and has participated in several terrorist attacks in the world. And so I want to talk about the White Widow. What's up, Lorraine? How are you? Um, I've been on this whole thing, watching HBO, and they put a documentary out. When y'all get a chance, y'all should check it out. It's called The Making of Jihadi John. And I think many people remember Jihadi John, right? I mean, it's only been 5 or 6 years since we all we all got to get to know Mr. Jihadi John and his infamous videos that were sent out about ISIS when ISIS had took over Syria. And okay, I got you. Okay, I got you, Shadow. I figured so, but I wasn't sure. But I know now. Let me show y'all this. This is crazy. Actually, that's a photo of her, but I really actually want to show. I want to kind of get to the more informational part about this lady. This lady is on a whole nother level, man. I'm going to bring up some images so you can kind of get an idea of who we're talking about here. And yes, this lady here, most wanted woman in the world, even right now. Samantha Lewthwaite. This woman married not one, but two husbands that would go on to become martyrs, so to speak. Would go on to do jihad. Um, Her first husband was involved in the terrorist attacks in London when several 77 it was 999. We know the event is 999, when several buses were bombs were put on buses and were exploded in London. This was her first husband who was involved in that. Then she turns around and gets married to a second man, and he ends up, come to find out he's also a terrorist. You know what I see when I look at this lady's face? I know this is going to sound kind of mean, but I swear, man, I don't know why, like, I get the feeling of like Down syndrome. I mean, is it just me? What's up, Centel? Hey, Deborah Mayo, it's good to see you. Um, I don't think the lady has Down syndrome, but y'all, I'm telling you, search for the White Widow. You will sit there. There are so many documentaries. There is so much information out here. This is the official photo I know that is on the Interpol flyer for her, as far as her wanted poster. This is actually the photo that they use on her flyer. Now, I'm going to tell you, I had known about this lady um, for a couple of years, actually, I'd heard about her. She grew up in Britain, and she left Britain to go be a terrorist in shithole Middle East, hot ass Middle East. Um, it's one of those really strange things where you've seen a lot of British, Australians, even Canadians, all sorts of crazy, stories of people leaving their home countries to go into shit face ass Syria. Excuse my French, but it's not exactly a beautiful place that you actually want to live in. Hold on a sec. Hey, hold on, I'm live. I'm live. What's that in your back pocket? Oh, okay. Wasted what? All right, well, okay. Sorry, y'all. Um, so anyway, let me kind of just take y'all through the story in a little bit of a more um strategic way here. Let me pull up my wiki on this girl. So I just want to really like pass information about this particular story. Now, do you guys remember? Now, I want to keep in mind they have found a couple of pictures in parts of Africa where they believe that she has been held out a couple of times. So she's definitely had children while she's been on the run. This lady, like I said, she first got on a lot of newspapers' radar when they discovered that she was the wife of one of the 777 bombers. Like I said, um, like I said again, the most wanted woman in the world. I remember when she did this photo for the Sun. Look at this. Just look how awkward it looks. Okay. Married to a 777 suicide bomber. As white can be. Looking into her child's eyes. And I remember when she took that photo for the Sun, and they put that photo on the front page, and so many people were so pissed off that she would even have a child after, or that she had this child. It's not like she could have helped. I mean, she was already pregnant, right? But she had this child right after this whole terrorist attack had happened. Okay, so she was born in 1983. Again, Samantha Louise Lewthwaite. She's considered a British jihadist. And again, she's one of the Western world's most wanted terrorism suspects. I suspect if the United States could find her, they would absolutely try her here in the United States. Just like those little pricks, those other British jihadists that went down to Syria, part of the AKA Beatles group. The part of the whole Beatles group, or Jihadi John was part of that whole thing they had going on, and executing those journalists on television and releasing those insanely produced ISIS videos. It's crazy. When I tell y'all that they suspect this woman of being one of the masterminds in the Westgate Mall attack that happened in Kenya. I don't know if you guys remember, like, that 3-4 day siege that happened in that big mall, the biggest mall in Kenya, when 4 terrorists went in and just started just shooting people, massive killings. They never found those terrorist bodies in full or anything after that event. But anyway, so check out her credentials. Listen to her credentials, okay? She is the widow of 7/7 London terrorist bomber Germaine Lindsay. He's accused of causing the deaths of more than 400 people. I'm sorry, she is accused of causing the deaths of more than 400 people. She is a fugitive from justice in Kenya, where she's wanted on charges of possession of explosives and conspiracy to commit a felony, and is the subject of an Interpol Red Notice requesting her arrest with a view to extradition. It's crazy, right? I mean, you look at that lady and you would never think. It's just crazy to me that she went on to continue to have young children and continue to push babies out, even though she wanted to expand on her terrorist lifestyle. You would think that a really caring parent wouldn't even want to bring a child into that shit, but no, not Samantha. Um, Let me bring this up for you guys, and you guys just kind of look at this with me. Okay. So, so this lady, I mean, when you kind of see this picture, you think like almost like an old ass woman almost, right? It's crazy. And if you've never heard of her, you'll definitely be hearing about her today and be looking some stuff up. Um, so she is an alleged member of Al-Shabaab, which is a Somalia-based Islamic radical group. She's been accused of orchestrating grenade attacks on Christian churches. She's believed to have been behind an attack on some folks at a bar in Mombasa during Euro 2012. Guys, it's just 2021. Hasn't even been a decade. In September 2013, there was speculation over her possible involvement in the Nairobi Westgate shopping mall attack, which I was just talking about. Some reports have cast doubt on this. Some said her role has been exaggerated. She was actually nicknamed the White Widow by news media. They played on words, referencing her race and the death of her first husband, and the practice of referring to Chechen female suicide bombers as Black Widows. So she was born in Bainbridge County Down in Britain. Her father is a British Army soldier, served in the 9th, 12th Royal Lancers, and met her mom while he was stationed in Northern Ireland in the 70s. So her father's a lorry driver in Aylesbury, England, of all things. She attended Elmhurst Middle School and the Grange Secondary School in Aylesbury. And then she even went to practice, get a degree in politics and religion at the School of Oriental and African Studies, but she ended up dropping out. She converted to Islam at a very sensitive age in her life. I mean, if y'all haven't figured it out by now, young people can cause a revolution. You know that feeling that you get? It's like a feeling that touches your spirit that you get sometimes when you're protesting, or when you're at about the age of 19, 20 and you get saved for the first time, you know? Getting saved for the first time, or finding God in your life for the first time. It's like this overwhelming feeling, right? And a lot of people kind of come into that space of their lives between like 15 to 25. And so there is a lot of ability to sort of convert people and play on their emotions, especially during those tender ages, when they're at their most vulnerable, because they're becoming adults in their own right. People are finding their way in their own right. So anyway, during these tender ages, she converted to Islam. And hey, Islam is a definite practice. I'm not personally Muslim, um, but there's plenty of good Muslim people. We're talking about the fringes, the radicalized portion of this religion. And it's the same for any religion. There's always going to be some like radical form of religion. And unfortunately, these attacks, being Islam or being Muslim and all of these attacks and bombing and stuff, that's been just a normal for many, many years. I think many of us can say that our whole lives we've always remembered terrorist attacks happening, especially religious-based terrorist attacks. Now, she actually was a Christian, supposedly, until the age of 17 when she converted to Islam. She adopted the Muslim name of Sherafiyah when she converted. And then, like I said, um, she married Germaine Lindsay, who then went on to become, he went on to become a suicide bomber in London. Apparently, Samantha's parents never came to terms with their daughter's conversion, but apparently she made some waves when she converted. Now, 3 years after her husband blew himself up on a train between King's Cross and Russell Square in London, after he had killed 26 civilians in his suicide attack. This is how irresponsible she is. She was 8 months pregnant. So, with her second child. So, she's 8 months pregnant with her second child, a daughter at that. And he decides, yeah, I'm going to go blow myself up for martyrdom, I'm going to go ahead and go blow myself up and kill some innocent civilians for whatever political beliefs that I may have. And I'm going to leave you, my other kid, and the one in your stomach. And I won't even be there when you push the baby out. When I tell you that's one of the most irresponsible decisions, and I bet you $1 million Samantha walked away from that experience saying that her baby daddy or husband, he was so strong, right? It's just so disgusting. Um, Now, her first child, when he died, was 14 months old. She reported him missing 6 days after the bombing. But she knew. We knew she knew. The whole world knew that she knew that her husband was a suicide bomber. She knew his radicalized beliefs. She denied prior knowledge of the attacks. But then she turned, but look at her now. Look at her now. So she was taken to protective custody after all that happened, the bombings, all that type of stuff. And then in September of 2005, she goes on to sell her story in the media. And that's where those photos popped up. The one where she's holding her little child in her hands, looking into her baby daughter's eyes, having just gave birth to a fresh baby, knowing that the father committed suicide in this terrorist attack while she was 8 months pregnant with the child. But people were so upset about her attempting to make money off of this whole story through the tabloids that they went through some steps to not allow her to make money off selling her story to the newspaper. They felt like it was like criminally profiting off of illegal activities by selling the story. But a lot of people felt that way, and I can't disagree. But anyway, this lady, so they had a chance to get her then, they didn't. She went on to marry, again, Habib Salih Ghani, who was born in London as well. He was also known as Abu Usama al-Pakistani, first moved to Kenya in 2007. So she moved with her new husband to Kenya in 2007. His father immigrated to Britain from Pakistan. Ghani was a contemporary of Asif Muhammad Hanif at the Hounslow Jamia Mashhad. Hold on. Yeah. So, but check this out. He killed himself too. He killed himself and 3 others at a bar in Israel, in Tel Aviv, after being recruited by Hamas. So Hamas has even been recruiting people like in Damascus and Syria. Lewthwaite gave birth to a 3rd child in 2009, but the father was not named on the birth certificate. She is reported to have moved to the north of England, then later to have disappeared with her children, and is believed to be hiding in Tanzania or Somalia. Could you imagine being a Somalian, seeing this freaking white lady walk, just even walk down the street with her, her bob on, or all that, her hijab, or, you know, completely crystal white. And it just seems awkward and out of place because, you know, mm, sorry guys, I'm drinking a banana cream pie shake. It's actually really good. So anyway, let's move on to kind of like some of her terrorist activities. Let's talk about her credentials, her resume. In 2012, anti-terrorist police in Nairobi, peep game, Westgate malls in Nairobi is in Kenya as well. Kenya issued an arrest warrant for a white woman using the false name of Natalie Faye. Come to find out, that woman was her. She had obtained false papers. She had fraudulently obtained a passport. They actually say that she was using like 3 separate identities, including her real identity, and she had 3 children total at this point in her life. She's got links to Al-Shabaab in Kenya, the same Al-Shabaab that committed the Westgate Mall attacks. And if you guys have never seen a documentary on that, just go search YouTube for Westgate Mall attack. I mean, it's horrible. This went on for like 4 days. They do not think that this lady is like a small type of fish. It's crazy how like these foreigners would be considered foreigners started getting all this weight in these Muslim terrorist organizations. It's just insane to me. But examination, so I know that they kicked down the door of one of her homes. They found a home down in Kenya for her. When they kicked the door in, they actually found additional stuff that linked back to her. They know that she collaborates with terrorists, including Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. She's extremely big sympathizer with that way of life. And they feel like she's not going to personally carry out an attack. They feel like she'll help do the fundraising, help in the acquisition of weapons. She'll help hide people, transport them, that kind of thing. But they don't think that she would ever participate in an actual attack. That's what they say. I don't necessarily believe that, but needless to say, do you know the Kenya police had her in surveillance at one point? They had surveillance on her in an apartment in Mombasa. It belonged to the former wife of terrorist financier Musa Hussein Abdi. If you ever know, have ever heard those names, that's Al Qaeda all day. Osama bin Laden. Abdi was killed along with Fazl Abdullah Muhammad, the leader of Al Qaeda in East Africa, by Somali armed forces near Mogadishu. He was a key player in the funding of Al-Shabaab. Now, they also have linked her to Johannesburg in Africa. They say she's been there several times. And one of her other aliases or identities that she's used has been Natalie Webb. And she's even worked in IT. She ran up a number of unpaid debts from bank loans, credit cards, and clothing store charge accounts in South Africa. She gave birth to her fourth child at a private birthing center in Johannesburg in July of 2010. So right now, her youngest child is 11 years old. The Daily Telegraph reported that she registered with the clinic late into her pregnancy and under the name Asma Shahida Bint Andrews. She gave birth after attending 4 prenatal appointments. Anti-terrorism investigators told the newspaper the child's father is believed to be Abdi Wahid, a former Kenyan naval officer who now is a terrorist for Al-Shabaab. Anyway, the CIA is looking for this woman. Every Homeland, Scotland Yard, MI6, they all want this woman. They joined the search actually back in 2012, it looks like. Now, this latest husband that she had the 4th kid with, he's dead. Oh yeah, he was killed in Somalia after an internal feud that happened. He was shot dead. So, I mean, this lady's been married several times. She's had children with several terrorists. They go on to, commit some sort of terrorist act or whatever. Now, they did find the content of a laptop and flash drive used by Samantha. And they're saying that she actually used the computer to research information about making bombs, as well as hair and beauty tips. Can you imagine how the fact that this lady could have been watching YouTube videos on how to make like a hairstyle or a mud mask for her face, and then in the other tab, she's learning how to make bombs? Jeez. Mm-mm-mm. Now, she's also known. So among the 2,000 files found on this drive was the Mujahideen Explosive Handbook and the song or the poem known as An Ode to Bin Laden. And she's actually the author of this poem, in which she pays tribute to the founder of Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden. It's unbelievable, man. Anyway, they went on to suspect her of the Mombasa grenade attack. Okay. Several people killed, 25 injured. The Westgate shopping mall attack. This happened in 2013 at the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi. 71 people were killed, 200 were injured. They never even found the full bodies of the 4 men who went in there and committed all that terrorism, which is unbelievable. And they are now saying that they suspect that she could be in the coastal town of Lamu in Kenya. So she still seems to be like concentrated in that particular area. I would think one of her problems is getting out. I don't think it'd be so easy to go through, customs. Mm-mm-mm. So check this out. In 2014, the BBC reported that well-placed security sources indicated that they had reliable information that Lewthwaite was in Kenya and that they had launched a large operation to find her. According to reports, an unknown woman who was believed to be Lewthwaite was escorted by armed Kenyan police officers in the coastal town of Lamu with the apparent intention of visiting a Kenyan army base in Somalia. The woman then allegedly disappeared after immigration officials denied her entry into the country. Who knows? Who knows? It's crazy. Hey to everybody in the chat. Her babies are beautiful, right? Her babies are gorgeous. Let me pull up one more thing, y'all, before I get up off of here. I had to talk about this because, like I said, some of the takeaways. If y'all get a chance, if you have HBO, check out the making of Jihadi John. That's what got me down this whole rabbit hole. And I've always paid attention. I've been following this lady's, career in terrorism pretty much since her career in terrorism began. It's just unbelievable to me how she has managed to, I don't understand, y'all, like how she's managed to get away with some of the shit that she's gotten away with. Let me show y'all a little bit of hold on, let me turn this up. Let me show y'all a little something. It's unbelievable.
Imolatewa law courts were under unprecedented tight security. Armed prison warders made a rare venture outside the court walls, which are within the maximum security prison. A high-risk suspect was due to be arraigned in court, but the case of Germaine Grant, who is answering charges of terrorism, did not proceed. It is understood police are slapping more charges on him in the wake of the siege at Westgate in Nairobi, which has now claimed at least 62 lives. Germaine Grant is understood to be a close associate of Samantha Lewthwaite, a feared female terrorist who at one point was suspected to coordinate the siege at Westgate. The government has, however, confirmed that the terrorists who had taken over Westgate Mall were all male. Grant's case was initially heard at the High Court in Mombasa, but that changed in March when the police received intelligence that Samantha was plotting a violent prison break for him. Grant was held under heavy security, but since then his hearings have been moved to Shimola Tower, where chained suspects stand behind walls in the safety of the prison. Prosecutors say two men arrested with grenades and bulletproof vests later confessed to the planned mission to rescue Grant. Germaine Grant was arrested in 2011 in a major police operation in Mombasa. The raid was conducted in a house which police believe he shared with Samantha, who was reportedly paying the rent. The pair is believed to have been plotting to kill hundreds of Britons, according to the UK's Daily Mail. Grant was arrested, but Samantha escaped under suspicious circumstances. It is also unclear how Samantha fully evaded the...
Now, this is the thing that catapulted her and shocked the world. When this lady showed up with this full hijab, I can't even say the word right, but y'all know what I'm talking about, the full covering, full on covering, and she was in Britain with her little child, with her little baby, freshly born baby. And then, let's just be honest, what's shocking about it is the fact of how white she is. The fact that she is a spoiled little brat out of Britain who turned into a terrorist.
Dragnet and escaped with her 3 children. Grant was arraigned in court together with 3 other Kenyan suspects. They are charged with the possession of explosive material and conspiracy to attack. The 3 Kenyans are Fuad Abubakar, Frank Ngala, and 19-year-old Wada Break Islam, who is Grant's wife. Beyond the arrest, though, questions, however, emerge. Fuad Abubakar, who was arrested with Grant, requested and was granted bail of 22 million shillings.
Wow.
He will later jump that bail and go underground. Sources suggest Fuad is now directing Al-Shabaab operations inside Somalia. KTN's sister publication, The Standard, reports that Fuad may have successfully transported newly converted jihadists from Kismayo in Somalia to Kenya in July. The mysterious escape of Samantha and the disappearance of Fuad raises questions on police treatment of intelligence on terrorism and also terror suspects. It also casts a shadow on Mombasa as a possible terrorist cell.
It makes me wonder, who did she pay?
Grant, the police...
Who did she pay to walk away, to be able to get up and walk away? Wait, the Sun reported that Sally Jones and her son had been killed in June, close to... So here's a really good question to ask. Yeah, she does have a type. Hey, Momo. So here's a really, really good question to ask, though, y'all. So there's all this talk about these people like going overseas, right, to Syria, or, going from their countries overseas, over huge water. It's a lot of water. I just had to do a shout out for President Trump. Like, it's a lot of water. It's lots and lots of water. But like, if you go to Syria, and if you took place in any part of the ISIS operations that were taking place over there, like in the last, ever since it was created, I wouldn't even give a fuck if you were there from like day one. Like, there were so many blatant things against God's law, just hurtful things. Um, Seeing people executed, throwing women, children off the top of buildings, shooting them while they're falling down, crucifying people literally in the middle of the streets, people's heads on spiked fences and stuff. Like, the brutality is so barbaric, where they have these literal translations of, the Quran or whatever. And my thing is if you went over there and you fought for ISIS, I don't want you to come back. As far as I'm concerned, you could stay in that shithole country the rest of your life. I don't think that we should immigrate anybody back from Syria who went over there to fight for ISIS, I should say. But I also do understand that people do change. I also understand that too. But man, when you're talking about something fundamental to somebody's life, like religion and their views on, how they feel about their moral views, their moral compass, I just think, like, for example, these Beetle characters, these four men that held the Western journalists um, for ISIS, including James Foley, the man who was first decapitated on camera, right? We remember that. And all those men were British. They were from Britain. Yet they left their homes, the sanctity of their homes in Britain, to go into Syria and fight for ISIS, for what they believed was Islamic State, where it would be beauty and paradise and nothing could ever go wrong. Well, if you said anything wrong, they were chopping your head off. Like, the brutality and the barbaricness of their punishments is just shocking and unbelievable, to say the very least. If you willingly walked into that, and when I tell you 17-year-olds, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, at the people at the real delicate age that I was talking about before, like, how you get that feeling, like I said, when you've been touched, when you've been saved, or, when you've had, an event that's passionate in your heart, you feel a certain kind of way inside. I mean, that's a fundamental change to you. And so, honestly, if you leave America, if you leave Canada, if you leave Australia, if you leave Britain, if you leave any of these places and go to that shithole place, and I called it a shithole place because it is a shithole place. Let's be honest. Syria has the oldest civilization known to man, right? Syria is a product of Assyria, or the old old people, as they say, meaning that the civilization of Syria, guys, was when we're reading the Bible, yeah, Syria was definitely populated civilizations of people that all of us have read stories in the Bible about, beginning of civilization. So it's really old and it's really shitty. And Bashar al-Assad, the president there, I wouldn't even call him president, he's a dictator. He rules over the people and he kills his own people. Dropping bombs isn't enough. Starving them out isn't enough. Now he likes to drop sarin gas chemical weapons and chlorine gas chemical weapons. A dictator who's came on television and did live interviews basically saying how right he was to do it, that there is a line that must be drawn. When I tell y'all, Al-Assad, he cannot leave Syria and go to a country that is friendly with the United States, because if he does, CIA is going to pick him up and try him on some war crimes. Hmm. All of that, all of the discussion of the war in Syria over the last few years, all of that video that came out when Assad was dropping them chlorine bombs, some chemical bombs on people's apartment buildings, killing people. Hey, Heaven Sent, killing people with gas. They didn't have a scratch on them, but their symptoms was obvious of a chemical weapon attack. Um, it's just crazy. It's just really sad. And I just don't believe that if somebody willingly went over there to fight for ISIS and participated in any of those barbaric activities or executions, should be allowed to just willy-nilly walk back into this country, or any country for that matter. As far as like how Britain has done by stripping some of their some of the citizenship of some of those people. Like, for example, those four guys, the Beatles, Jihadi John was one of them. He was killed in an airstrike. There was four of them total. Two of them have been killed in an airstrike. Two of them are still alive. Those two have went on to do interviews talking about their, of course they lied about a lot of stuff at first, but as their interviews continued, slowly they started admitting like their participation in executions, their participation in rounding up hostages, Western hostages especially, that would, be of interest to them in their propaganda. And it's like, how can you sit there after you knowingly was involved with the beheadings of all these journalists that was recorded in their Message to America video with James Foley? So many hostages were murdered by their brutal hands. One of the guys actually has been talked about as being more brutal than the others. And you have the nerve to sit on the couch and talk to me about religion? Are you kidding me? You got the nerve to sit on the couch and talk to me about how your British citizenship got stripped because you became a terrorist in Syria and you went to go fight for ISIS, and you think I'm supposed to care? What are we going to waste any of our money or resources on? Anyone? Now here's the fear. There's been so many people that have left and went to fight for ISIS, went via Turkey. A lot of people went via Turkey, right? As far as how they did their immigration. Some came back out, and some are back living in their home countries after fighting with ISIS. Would they ever really want to admit it? Hell no. Hell no. But I just personally think that those two men, there is a good reason sometimes to have a death penalty, in my opinion. And I know that all I'm saying is, as brutal as ISIS has been, I don't understand how these two men could sit on a couch and do any kind of TV interviews and even attempt to to relish or try to pull any sympathy out of me for them. I'm sorry. You were cutting people's heads off. You sat there and had you had everything to do with these journalists being beheaded on camera and the decisions that were made to put that shocking footage in front of the world. No, I don't think so, and I don't care. I don't care. So yeah. And a lot of this is like related in so many ways, because you guys, when I tell you there's direct links between people in Al-Shabaab to people in Syria with Al-Qaeda, I mean, there is absolute direct links where these organizations sort of like spout up between certain people. They're there for the message. They're there for the ultimate message that they're trying to put out to the people, right? In these really archaic laws, as far as, you know, that particular radicalized version of Islam. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of do like my first video on her, Samantha Lewthwaite, and kind of just talk about who the White Widow is. I definitely check ever so often, and I have a Google alert configured just in case, you know, she ever gets caught. It would be news around the world. But yeah, this lady is the most wanted woman in the world. So you know, just think about it. And when y'all get a chance, you should check out some documentaries on this lady. I'm trying to see. There was this.
She is one of the most wanted women in the world for terror. The so-called White Widow, Samantha Lewthwaite, is a British national already wanted in Kenya for a 2-year-old weapons charge, now sought as a potential link to the horrific terror attack on Nairobi's Westgate Mall last month. Our Nick Robertson tracked down an apartment she's said to have...
Now you can see here, when you look at this ID, that is definitely Samantha Lewthwaite, but look at the name she has on there. Natalie Faye Webb. They were able to track down an apartment that she lived in.
Rented there and sent us this report.
Is this the lady who lived in the apartment here?
Yeah, she's the one.
Do you recognize her?
Yeah.
Samantha Lewthwaite, aka the White Widow, here on a fake passport seized by police in a raid 2 years ago. She's the world's most wanted female terror suspect. Once married to London's 7/7 suicide bomber Germaine Lindsay, suspect of involvement in terror attacks in Kenya dating back to 2011. On the run from Interpol, her building manager wants his identity withheld, explains how she hid.
So she can give me a number in the morning at 8. At 9, if I call her, she has changed another line.
Really?
At 10 or 11, another line. At 4, another line. So
lots of phone lines. Identical to this apartment, just feet from hers. The building manager says she shared the 100 square meters of upmarket living space, cost about $1,000 a month, with 4 children and a man he believes was her husband. They arrived February 2011 and were anything but normal. Lewthwaite would spend many hours in the local mall and the Nakumatt department store, where he would sometimes go with the family.
Now I want you to keep in mind, the mall that she spent hours in was Westgate, which then later suffered a tragic terrorist attack against it. And to this day, the mall has not even reopened. Again, 71 people were killed in that attack over a 4-day period.
by the time she was going to Nakumatt, she can stay there for 3 hours, 4 hours, then she come back.
So she would go to Nakumatt for 3 or 4 hours and sit there and watch who was coming and who was going.
She was going to working Nakumatt. Sometimes children breaks things, she pays. Then she goes to saloon, then she come back.
So she spent a lot of the time she spent here was keeping watch on Nakumatt.
Yeah.
See who was going, who was shopping.
Yeah.
From her balcony, she could see directly to the shopping center that she was spying on. This is a middle-class neighborhood where a white woman like her really wouldn't look out of place. The mall, known locally as Junction Mall, is popular, particularly with affluent expats, just like its larger companion mall, Westgate, targeted by terrorists last month. In that attack, these Islamist terrorist gunmen let victims go if they were Muslim. The building manager now sees a chilling connection. He says Lewthwaite's husband asked him to spy at the mall, find out who is Muslim.
Still asking me, can you monitor the people who are coming this Nakumatt? Are they Muslims or Wazungus or other tribes in Kenya? Can you tell me which people are coming, very many in number?
So he wants to know if there are a lot of Muslims going to that or not.
I think this building owner is a little
Authorities
guilty of
believe
some
the
things,
junction mall
honestly.
was a potential terror target and have investigated, though they haven't named Lewthwaite as a suspect in the case. Still, as they search the ashes at the nearby Westgate Mall, many Kenyans are asking, did she have a role there? Where she is now, no one knows. She fled the apartment in a hurry, August 2011.
Nick's joining us now from Nairobi. Nick, is there any evidence at this point, specific evidence, that she was involved in the Westgate Mall attack?
There isn't specific evidence that's been made public. What we do know from leaked national security documents is that she is listed as being involved in a planned attack, quite a large planned attack, with multiple targets in the Kenyan capital in 2011. It would have targeted parliament buildings, UN offices, parliamentarians, senior politicians here in the capital. She is listed in that. Of course, a lot of speculation because of her very high profile and the people she's been connected with, alleged to be connected with, Al-Shabaab, who claimed responsibility for the attack on the Westgate Mall. That's led to the high level of speculation, but publicly, not as yet linked.
I mean, everybody wants to be fucking counted. I mean, geez, how can a mother of four little bitty children, the youngest being only 10, involve herself in such irresponsible activities? She's made herself a marker. She's very dangerous. Like, how could you do this to your children? Do you really think you're going to be able to go 20 years killing innocent people, committing terrorist attacks, planning terrorist attacks, and think that nothing will ever happen to you? I would be scared to death just to walk around with my children. And then what really bothers me, and something that I think about, I wonder to myself if this lady hasn't had children to sort of use them as a human shield. She probably, when she walks outside, never goes with, unless she has her children with her, because she feels like they're less likely to shoot her down if she has her children with her. Y'all, I just wanted to bring these things up to your attention. It's been a very long week. I don't even have a clue when I'll go live next. Shout out to Queen Supreme. She had I'm not sure if she went through with her show yesterday or not, but I worked so late yesterday. Actually, the last couple days has been crazy, long hours, and you know, I just felt like coming up and doing just a real quick live with you guys. So I'm done. I just wanted to put that on y'all's mind. I wanted to talk about this lady who I've been, you know, monitoring this story for so many years, and just put some things out there on your mind, guys. So anyway, y'all have a really good rest of your evening, and I'll catch y'all next time.